Eat what you earn. Society falls on us as individuals and as our families and friends and neighbors and communities to deal with those problems. But to believe that saving is evil, I mean, they literally teach that savings is bad, and they blame the people on the recession. They say the people quit spending money. If they don't spend money, they stimulate the economy. But if you're sweet, you have this debt, no job, how do you spend money? And what if you maxed out? How are you going to spend money if there's no savings and you're worried about what the economy will be like later on? And they have an answer for that. The liberal says the government has to spend the money. They should tax and borrow. If you don't have enough, you print the money. So you can't solve the problem by doing exactly the things that cause our problem. So it takes a lot of revamping. I think basically we really have to get the spending under control and get debt under control and recognize that debt and malinvestment, that is mistakes that businessmen make when they think they're a savings because interest rates are low. That has to be erased. Otherwise you can't have economic growth. If we would have allowed the bankruptcies of those companies that were involved with all the derivatives and all this bad debt, we would have allowed that. We would have probably all had a bad year. They would have had the liquidation of debt. They would have gone and filed for bankruptcy. But wouldn't be where we are today. The growth would be back again. So this idea of a correction, when you have an economic bubble, correction is good. It's sort of taking the necessary medicine, going through the surgery you need. But if you prolong it, if the government gets involved, it prolongs the agony and takes so long. The other thing that I get concerned about when the government gets so much involved in all the intervention overseas and all the economy here at home is the protection of our personal liberties. If we only dwell on that and understood what liberty and property meant, this would mean that you have a right to your life, a right to your liberty, you don't have an income tax and responsibilities that fall on each and every one of us. But it also means that our lives would not be regulated by the government. Our properties would be regulated by the government. Today, we really don't own our property. If anybody's a landowner who wants to build something, you've got to get a lot of permits. Local levels all the way up to the federal government. Some people think you should get it from the UN too. But I am voting no on that. But if we understand this, what personal liberty is about, we could get back to the basics, and that is property rights and contracts and sound money. But we've disrupted that. The government interferes with the contracts. They become the counterfeiters. We're supposed to put counterfeiters in jail, but the government now is the counterfeiters. Maybe some of them deserve prison. Voluntary agreements and contracts, and the government does have a role in this. You have to enforce contracts. That's the role of the government. Also, the government has a role to deal with bankruptcies too. Go through a process to go and do it. They reverse this. They don't allow the bankruptcies and they dump the bad debt on other people. So the government has become perverse along with what it's supposed to do. For instance, one of the things in a free society is that government should be small, it should be open, you should know what it is. And today, though, we turn it on its head. The founders were very adamant about protecting our homes or our castles. We should have privacy. Have our privacy? Have we had our privacy since the Patriot Act? No. Today, we've lost our privacy and the government becomes more secret in what they do. We need to turn that around. Prior to 9/11, it was a shaky period of time and it required some reassessment. I wish they had reassessed our foreign policy a little bit more than they have. But one thing the response was, well, what we need to do is pass this law called the Patriot Act so we can watch everybody to make sure that you're not a terrorist. So that Patriot Act passed a couple days, it wasn't long afterwards. It was not even really discussed until the floor for an hour or so, and that bill came up. And I recall talking to somebody else, he decided we were getting a vote for this. I said, "You're going to vote for this?" And he said, "Oh yeah." I said, "Have you read it?" "No." I said, "You know there's going to be some bad stuff in this." He says, "Yeah, probably." I said, "Why are you going to vote for it?" He says, "Under these conditions, how can I vote against something called the Patriot Act?" And he said, "I'd have a hard time explaining that to my constituents when I go home." I said, "Yeah, that's your job. You go and explain it to them." Has done a mistake that has undermined our liberty. Matter of fact, the proposal for the Patriot Act was a long time coming. It was long time before 9/11. Just as the plans to invade and overthrow the government of Iraq, those were plans a long time before. Matter of fact, Paul O'Neill, Secretary of the Treasury, was rather annoyed at the first cabinet meeting because the first thing on the agenda in the first part of the first month of the year in 2001 was, when are we going after Iraq? When are we going to invade? And he actually got fired over the whole thing in the last few months because he was so dumbfounded on this obsession about going into war. But there are other things happening now on our civil liberties that are really, really frightening. Back in last February, the administration came, one of the members of the administration came to a Senate hearing, and he explained a new policy. The policy was the president now has the authority to assassinate American citizens without charges, without a trial, but because they know he's a bad person. Well, you know, in a way, that's what the rule of law is all about. Even when you're a bad person, you get a trial, a fair trial, and then you get a conviction to make sure that all of us are treated the same way. But once you set a precedent to say, a president can declare this, it says subsequently there's been 3 Americans assassinated. And one was a Lockheed, and he did orchestrate some noise about violence. He never committed violence, he was never charged or convicted. And but I wouldn't want to defend him. But if he wanted to be charged, he should be charged in court. But because he was in Yemen, we just decided let's go assassinate him. But a week or so later, they said, well, he had a family member that was probably involved as well. So they sent another missile over there, and they assassinated him along with his friend. They were in the backyard, barbecuing, and the son was 16 years old, and his cousin was 17 years old. So I think there's a limit. And that's only 3 people. And that's a precedent, and that's not good. That's a bad thing. This past week, the National Defense Authorization Act was passed. That to me is very impressive that we know about it. But it's another bad sign in the direction that we're going. Because with this bill, it is granted to the President the authority to arrest militarily any American citizen who may be suspected of being allied with somebody else. That they think is bad. So that means maybe visiting a website or attending a meeting or sending money to somebody, and that you are denied an attorney. They bring you up and say before that yes, they ask for an attorney, just tell them you don't get an attorney. Once again, very bad precedent is set. Individuals like that, and they can be held indefinitely, and they can be sent to a military prison like and no questions asked. This is a trend that has to be reversed. We have to say that they've overdone it. This is what the revolution was fought about. And this is the repeal of commonalities. The military, we don't have military law. And we're supposed to have civil law and state law to take care of violent acts, not the military moving in. And these abuses have occurred for a while. I imagine for a good while. But they at least in the old days knew they were illegal and they hid them. But now it's out there. It's out there. They codify this. It's right in front of our face. This is the law of the land. They are, it's an enactment of giving this power to the president. So So government breeds on itself. If you grant too much government decision making going forward, and you don't too much decision making on how your money is going to be spent, and they have to take care of you, it breeds this civil liberties. The essence of a free society is really about civil liberties. I am very excited about the whole idea of liberty and personal freedom, and for various reasons. One, that's what I want for myself. I'm very selfish. I want to live in a free society. And the other thing I made about anything, and since the Constitution is a defense of liberty and a restraint on government, that what it does, it recognizes and brings people together for different reasons. If we recognize, look at the people here, everybody leads their life the way they want. So many different Christian values, different religious values, and different beliefs. And somebody might not want to have beliefs. You might want to spend your spare time different ways. That has been protected. So the issue of liberty should bring us all together, even though we have diverse uses. And the one place where people get hung up on this is, oh no, if I allow him to do this, he might go out and gamble, and gambling is so bad, and we don't want him to do that. We want him to be a better person. But when you legalize liberty, you don't endorse what people do. I mean, it is an endorsement. We don't endorse people's religion. Some people do some bizarre things in the name of religion, but because we legalize it doesn't mean we endorse it. The limitation is you don't hurt anybody. You can't hurt other people. I mean, it's you're living your lifestyle, what you want, you should be permitted to live this. So people come together this way, and rather than people fighting over it, if people want more government to regulate our personal lives, this means that the government is trying to say they're going to keep you from hurting yourself, and they can't do that. That is your responsibility in a free society. The government assumes this role of trying to make you virtuous and try to get you to work for excellence, which should be our goal, at least that's what I think our goal ought to be. But if government takes over that function, there's no liberty left. The government does this with force, and they do it from, not only from morning till night, but it's gone to, it's from cradle to grave, and they get involved, and it breeds on itself and it continues to grow. And I think what happened when there was economic or foreign policy, we lost our confidence, and it was gradualism, incrementalism, a little bit here, a little bit there, to the point where now we don't really have the freedoms that I think are absolutely necessary. But what is happening